Hi, thanks a lot for coming back. This is Dave from Free Run Speed. Years ago, during the world of minimalism, a brand came out that was the complete opposite. It was Hoka One One, and it was the complete opposite of minimalism. It was maximalism. I'm not sure what the reason was, but from the time Hoka One One came out till roughly a year and a half ago, none of the big brands, and when I talk big brands, I'm talking about the 7 major brands that have been in running for decades. And they include Adidas, Asics, Brooks, Nike, New Balance, Saucony, Mizuno. They really haven't addressed, until 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, Hoka One One. Well, now they are. And Saucony is addressing maximalism and carbon plates through their line, starting now. Today I'm talking about the 4mm drop Saucony Endorphin Shift. Part of that whole new Endorphin line that includes the Endorphin Shift, the Endorphin Speed, and the Endorphin Pro. I've had this shoe since right before the COVID shutdown, close to 19 weeks ago. So I've been running in it ever since. I'm gonna go run right now, and we'll talk about it later. The Saucony Endorphin Shift. It's $140. The stack height is 38 millimeters in the heel and 34 millimeters in the forefoot, giving it a 4mm heel to toe drop. The men's size 9 is 10.4 ounces or 294 grams, and the women's size 8 is 9.3 ounces or 263 grams. The upper is an engineered mesh with this welded overlay to give it some structure. The tongue is a standard tongue that is gusseted. So it is attached, but it's a pretty thick tongue, so you're going to get a lot of padding. The insole, yay, is a molded EVA insole. Okay, overall I'm going to call the shoe fairly medium to generous in the midfoot and in the forefoot in terms of fit. The heel, I'm not sure if I don't get lockdown in the heel or the fact that the forefoot is so stiff that my heel slips a little bit. I don't think that's going to be an issue with most runners. Got to remember my heel is fairly narrow, so I don't think that's going to be an issue with runners. I think the heel fit is going to be good for most. The real magic in this shift is twofold. One, it's this TPU heel counter, external heel counter. It's substantial. And on the medial side, you'll see that it drops down into the midsole. Then the other piece is the midsole itself. One of the things that has set Hoka One One apart from everybody else is that they have wrapped the midsole. So in other words, the midsole comes up along the side of the foot, creating a cradle that the foot sits deep inside. And that's one of the pieces of DNA that make a Hoka One One unique. I like what Saucony has done. They didn't just copy that midsole wrap from Hoka One One. They actually tried to improve it. And that's where this heel counter comes in. This heel counter is a wrap, essentially. It wraps that heel in place. It really locks your heel in a cradle. And then you'll notice on the medial side, I said it comes down. So that gives the shoe that much more support. So I give Saucony a lot of credit for not copying, but actually trying to make the wrap more functional. The shoe does have a slight wrap up here on the medial side, so your whole foot is sitting in a cradle. They've also cheated a little bit by wrapping the outer sole right here under the arch. That's really for those runners that have that arch collapse. It gives them a little bit more support. It may not fix their arch collapse, but it's going to give that arch a little bit more support. The Shift does not have super foam. It is Power Run, which has its own unique feel. And because it doesn't have a carbon plate, it doesn't have the general really defined speed roll that the Endorphin Speed and the Endorphin Pro have, because those plates are part of what creates that speed roll. So because the Shift doesn't have a plate in it, it still has some of the good aspects of speed roll, but it's not quite as defined as those two shoes with the plate. All that said, remember, the one thing about a rocker type midsole is that your foot rolls over the rocker instead of flexes through the forefoot. This shoe has very little flex. So you are going to roll right over the forefoot. This TPU heel counter is actually quite heavy. So they had to save weight somewhere, and they did it mostly in the outer sole. So they've been very strategic in the outer sole. It has carbon rubber in the high wear areas, and it has rubber that goes all the way around the edge, and that piece that I talked about in the heel that wraps up. But here in the forefoot, these legs right here are all exposed foam. So that's where they're saving the weight. I think of all the brands out there who are finally taking a stance in the world of maximal running shoes, this one is a very, very good alternative to a Hoka One One. And here's why. The stack height is there. It's 38-34. It has a slight rocker. It has midsole wrap done the Saucony way. But most importantly, when you run, you do not feel the ground at all. Or at least when I run, I don't feel the ground at all. And so for me, the way I've used this shoe, and again, I've been running in it for 3 months, and so I reach for it on specific occasions. I reach for it when my legs are really tired. I reach for it when I'm considering the run to be recovery. I reach for it when it's going to be on a hard surface with a lot of hills in it, which from my house, that is every single run virtually. So this shoe's really durable. It's lasted for 3 months, and I could get another, I think 6 to 8 months running in it the way I've been running in it. They've done a really good job. I'm really impressed so far. So now I've run in the Shift and in the Endorphin Pro. And I think Saucony's onto something. I think they've created a new lane for themselves. For more information on minimalism and the effects of minimalism to running shoes, visit the website freerunspeed.com. I wrote an article that went live today on the website that is a historical view of minimalism and the effects it had on the running shoe industry. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked this video. Have a great run. As you know, all you got to do is get out the door. As soon as you get out the door and start running, your day will be better. It always is.